Good evening. I want to be in the book of Jonah tonight, and I guess the first thing that you're going to say is, "Oh yeah, Jonah," and the big fish. So that's going to be part of it, but we was in the Sunday school quarterly, or whatever you want to call it anymore. It's not actually a quarterly, but a lot of times they have some pretty good little illustrations in there. And this past Sunday, as I was reading in there, it had a little thing from a pastor, and his first funeral service that he had to conduct was for a little 3-year-old girl. As I look out over this crowd, probably about all of us, well, I'll take that back. We've not got grandkids, but we've had several through our home at one time or another. And but this little girl, as the story went, every time her parents or grandparents, either one, would say, "Come here," she would turn and go the other way. And they all just thought that was the funniest thing, and it was just something cute because she was 3 years old and she was doing right the opposite of whatever they wanted her to do. But one day she started out towards the road, and they said, "Come here," and she turned and went between some cars and run out in the traffic and got run over and killed. So it's not funny anymore, but it's too late because she's gone. So I guess I want to encourage you. I'm not saying, that there's a difference in discipline and a beating. Those little kids that we have kept in our house, the biggest part of them, Johnnie could sit there in his recliner and they would start doing something and he'd just give them one of these. That was usually the end of it because they know Johnnie. He might not give them a whipping, but boy, he'd give them looks. And that's just like my daddy. I done something when I was young, like we all have. I wasn't supposed to. My parents told me, "Now you do this, and you go where you're supposed to go." Well, I went and picked up some of my buddies, and we was everywhere but where we were supposed to be. So when I got home, well, I got caught. The car I was driving lodged between two big rock banks. I thought I was some kind of a great driver, and I got up at the top of a big hill and started down and cut the car off. And I was going to make it to the bottom. I didn't quite make it. I got lodged between them two rock banks. So when I get home, the woman that two of her boys was with me was calling Daddy on the phone. So I had to go get Daddy so he could talk to her, and I told my side of the story before I ever got him to the phone. So when he got off the phone, okay, the whole time he was on the phone. When he hung up the phone, I had my billfold and my keys in my hand. And I just done this to Daddy. He said, "What's that for?" I said, "I figured I wouldn't be driving for a while." He said, "You better put them back in your pocket." He said, "You learned a pretty good lesson today, didn't you?" I said, "Hell, yeah, a roundabout way." He said, "Okay." He said, "You learned a pretty good lesson a cheap way." So I tell you all of that just to kind of get into the story of Jonah. And as we all know, Jonah, he was kind of the same way. He thought the Lord was calling him to go one place. He was going to go another. So here it is. He's on this ship, asleep. And a big storm comes. And everybody thought that they was going to perish in this storm. I wanted to start there at Jonah at chapter 1, and I'm going to start at verse number 2, if that's okay. It says, "Arise and go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me." But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa. And he found a ship going to Tarshish, so he paid the fare thereof, and went down into it to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. So what's he doing? He's running from the Lord. So I don't know about yours, but when I started when I felt like this was what I was being called to do, I've said it before, but I'll keep saying it because it's the truth. I just kept looking and I said, "Lord, are you serious? There's no way. I can't get up there in front of people and talk. I don't have no big college degree hanging on the wall. I just stumble and stutter, and I use a lot of words that probably you'd have a real problem finding them in a dictionary, maybe, like y'all and come here. I don't know if any of that's even in the dictionary or not. But we went down last Sunday night to a place there on the lake, and I had service for, I don't know if any of you know him or not, maybe you just heard of him, Sonny Thomas. And they have a big, I don't know what they call it, but anyhow, they have it there once a year. And we went down, and I had kind of figured about 65 or 70 people would be there. And I want to say probably about 40. So I was half right. But where I'm looking out this way, and I can't even see the road back there behind you. All I can see is you all. I'm looking out over a big lake scenery. Got pontoon boats and all kinds of boats, and they're coming in and going out and coming in and going out the whole time that I'm standing there stumbling and stuttering and trying to find words to say. All that's going on, and I'm standing there having to look at that. But God, I told them down there, I said, God created all this stuff. I can't even create a drop of rain. And I can make a lot of stuff maybe that the Lord has provided. Any of us, the Lord will provide stuff to make stuff. But you look at your clothes, a lot of them, it'll say man-made. Man-made. Show me something that says man created. Man can't create a thing. I heard a little story. It seemed like a preacher was talking and telling it. But right after God had created Adam and everything, and the world got to being populated and stuff, this man came up and told God, he said, I can make a man. He said, making a man is no problem. He said, I can do it. So God said, okay, go ahead. Let's see it. So this man, he grabs him some dirt, clay out of a little hole there, and it was kind of wet. And he just started packing and packing and packing. He come up, and he had something that resembled a man, but it was just clay. It couldn't breathe. It couldn't move. And God said, okay. He said, where did you come up with that clay? And he said, right there. God said, that's mine. Put it back. So man can't do nothing without God's help. So as the story keeps going here with Jonah, he just keeps on and on. And everybody keeps wondering why they are so down and out and having such trouble. Well, Jonah decides then that he's going to tell them and tells them to take him and throw him in the water and just get rid of him. Well, they finally take him and throw him in the water. And of course, we know then that he's swallowed by this fish. Some people say a whale. Some people say a great fish. I don't know what it was. Everybody has their own opinion. It's just like Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Or Matthew, Mark, and Luke. I'm sorry. They was all right there and walked with Jesus. And they said, well, the stories don't say the same thing. If all three of us, say CL and Roy and myself, is all standing here and we see something, something is going to appeal to CL that's going to be overlooked by me. At the same time, Roy's going to see something that me and CL didn't see. And maybe I'm more of an animal type feller, I guess. Maybe I see an old cow out there in the field or something like that that's doing something strange that neither one of them see. And I write that down in my book instead of what C.L. and Roy writes. So I feel like that's maybe why they didn't see eye to eye on everything. They had different points of view instead of just going with one frame of mind, I guess you'd say. I have wrote down a few little things here. And my first thought as I was doing this, God called Jonah to do a job. But like we do, and I say we do because look at yourself and be honest. You don't always do what God wants you to do. Because if it was, this world would be a completely different place. If He's sending you to Johnson City to visit somebody in the medical center, guess what? You're not going to find them down at Laughlin Hospital. So if you go to Greenville looking for him, you're not going to find him, and you're not going to do God's will in Greenville if he sent you to Johnson City. I told him down there Sunday night that I just lost my train of thought. Whatever it is that God calls you to do, be honest with yourself. Don't lie to yourself, because that's the biggest mistake that you'll ever make, is trying to convince yourself that you're right when you know deep down in your heart that you're wrong. So God's still in control of everything. We don't need to try to outthink him. Man today has great knowledge of a lot of things, but he cannot think better than God. He created us. He put Adam in control of everything in the Garden of Eden. And if we look back at how Adam messed up, Adam wanted to take and blame Eve because she had given him that apple. That was not Eve's fault. It was to some degree, but Adam had that choice. When somebody comes up and starts saying, here, I'm just going to say something simple. Here, take a piece of this cake. You always have the knowledge to say, okay, I'm going to take a piece of that cake. Or you can say, I just got done eating supper. I'm so full, I can't eat that cake. And you can walk away. And I used this one time, and if there's a fire here in this building, that fire might be back here about middle ways. Some of you can go out the back door. Some of us can go out this side door. For everything that Satan will tempt you with and put before you, God will make a way for you to turn and get out of it if you just look for it. But you've got to be willing, and you've got to see that escape to get there. So Adam had just enough that he could have said, no, I'm not going to do that. But we all want to try to say, and I'm just as guilty, I guess, as Adam or anybody else. I say, Mary Jo made me do that. She did. Now, I've still got to go home with her. You don't. But anyhow, so it just, you just got to look for the way that God is dealing with you. There's ways for everything, I believe, under the sun that you can do to get out, and whatever it is, you can either agree to go along with it, or you can say, I'm going to take a stand and try to do what's right. And I've always said that these people that back when the Ten Commandments was getting ready to be took off of the courthouses and all over the United States, just what if this one little bunch right here at this church would have got together and got petitions signed and maybe went all of you has got friends that I'll never meet in my life. I've got friends that you will never meet. But if we would all got that petition together and I took it to our state leaders and everybody, I believe everybody in here probably pays taxes just as much as what them people that had them petitions to get him removed. We might have still had the 10 Commandments on our courthouses and all that. And just think about prayer in the school. That's another big thing. If somebody would have stood up and I said, no, you're not taking prayer out of school, you're not disciplining my kid because he's praying before he has to take a test or before he eats. That's the way I brought him up. If you want to discipline somebody, right here's a man because I brought him up that way. So I just think that in our world today, a lot of things would be different if just a handful of Christian people would take a stand and show that they still believe that God is in control of this world, which He is. And so I'm still trying to think of what I was going to say about down there Saturday night or Sunday night, but it's left me completely. And I did bring one point out to him down there, and I want to always try to do this. I'm coming up on a kind of a time in my life, I guess you'd say, that I feel like I'm going to have to be making some decisions maybe before long. According to the Free Will Baptist Association, you've got to go 1 year in the licensing program. And you're supposed to hold 12 different services a year. Then at the end of your year, after you've announced that you've been called to the ministry, or you feel like you've been called to the ministry, you're supposed to preach 12 times, which I did that my first year. Then they go back and look at you again at the end of that year, and they relicense you for another year. And they did that. And that was last August. So the way I figure it is this coming August will be the end of my 2 years. So I'm looking at either having to stay in the licensing program or looking at being ordained. I believe that. Am I right, Roy? I was thinking that's how they had told me before. So I'm looking at that, and I just want y'all to pray for me and keep that in your mind and pray that I'll do the right thing, regardless of what it is. So I did find one little thing, and I brought this up down our Sunday night, and I want to bring it up to our church too. There's a phrase in the Bible. I don't know if you all have ever thought of this or not, but there's a phrase in the Bible that, according to my computer, it says that it's in the Bible 365 times. 365 times. Anybody have a clue? Somebody does, because they was down there Saturday night or Sunday night. So that's one time. Everybody knows there's 365 days in a year. It's in the Bible. I feel like 365 times, that's one time every day. And that phrase is, I've got to put my glasses on here so I don't tell you wrong. Okay. That phrase is, do not be afraid. Am I right, Howard? So whatever it is, these people come up and start trying to put you down or whatever. Talk to my God. He's in control of this. If you can convince him, come back to me and we'll talk. If you can't convince my God, go on down the road. Leave me alone. I don't need you anyway. Me and God's got this under control. So, I'm not trying to get you to in any kind of trouble or nothing like that. I'm not trying to start any fights. But if you'll just remember, God's in control, your life might turn to be a different life completely. And I want to say that if you're here tonight and God is not in control of your life, I'm going to ask you to please, and I'm going to say that again, please, don't walk out them doors without accepting Christ as your personal Savior. We're all here right now. But everybody here has lost somebody that they think they've thought the world of. And they've thought that they would live to see tomorrow. But they didn't make it. So if you're here tonight and you've not accepted Jesus into your heart, please, these people here that will tell you how to accept him. And I told them down our Sunday night, I said, mankind makes such a big deal out of everything anymore. We think that when God created the heavens and the earth, he made a way. He knew that Adam was going to sin. And if Adam hadn't sinned, a few years later, there was going to be a little boy down there on Chucky Highway that was going to fill the market. And God said, he's going to need me. So I've got to send Jesus to be with him. But friends, all you've got to do is you've got to believe Jesus. You can't take this Bible and just use one verse of it. You've got to believe that Jesus is all that he says that he is. He was born of a virgin. He lived on this earth as man flesh, they thought they had killed him. And I always like to say that just in that tone of voice. They thought they had killed him. But he came back stronger than he ever was to start with. And he's alive today. So you've got to believe the virgin birth. You've got to believe that he was here. You've got to believe that he laid down his life for you. And you've got to believe that he's alive and making intercessions for you and myself at God's right hand. And if you believe all of that, and the last thing of it all, you can't keep that inside. And when I say that, Jesus plainly told everybody, if you deny me in front of man, I'll deny you in front of my Father. So if we're here and we've lived the best kind of life that we possibly can, but we've not told our friends and everything that we're Christians, and we've not let them see Jesus living in our lives, we failed. So when we get to heaven's gate, is God going to say, "Depart from me, I never knew you"? I hope not. I hope he'll say, "Welcome home." So that's about all I've got, and I appreciate your attention, and I thank you for being here tonight. And do we want to have another song, or? Okay. Roy, will you dismiss us in prayer? Would everybody please stand?